Hey there, friends. It's Just the Gems. I'm Brandon, and I'm back with more Trails content because I want to be a Trails guy on the internet, and the only way I can make that happen is by making Trails content. So this is just a little fun one, just a little bonus video. I did my review last week of Trails in the Sky FC. You can check that out here-ish if you are interested and haven't seen it already. And I really appreciate the feedback I've gotten on that video so far. It's been great. I really love hearing that so many of you enjoyed it, and I hope that you'll consider sharing it with your friends who you think should be into trails and aren't. Let me help you. Help me help you. Help them get into trails. So today, I want to take a minute and rank all of the characters, the significant characters, let's say, from Trails in the Sky FC, and put them into a tier list so that you can see definitively who is the best character and who is the worst character, or I guess it's a tier rank, so best characters, plural, and worst characters, plural, in Trails in the Sky FC. Is that cool? Cool, we're gonna do that. Before we dive in, if you wouldn't mind liking the video, if you do in fact like it, that would be fantastic. Also, if you're not subscribed and you like JRPG content, you like Trails content, I would just really appreciate your subscription. It means so much to me. And leave a comment down below. Let me know where you think I'm just so far off on my rankings, because I'm sure I'm going to be off. Now, looking at this group of characters, I'm going with the character portraits, right? Because visually that makes more sense. And I'm a little nervous because I don't remember all these people's names, so we're gonna have to scramble at some point here and try to figure that out. I'm bad with names in real life too, so imagine my trouble here when it comes to something like this. This is my nightmare. You know, show me a room full of people that I know, but like can't recollect. It's terrible. I don't want to start with the obvious ones, like the party members. I'm going to put those off for a little while. Let's start with some of the other bracers, right? Estelle and Joshua and Shara and Agate are all bracers. Oh, and Zin are all bracers in the party. And there are some other bracers that you encounter. Let's rank some of these other bracers. First up, we've got Kurt. Kurt has some of the most, I think, unintentionally hilarious line readings. Like they're not bad. They're just like, I'm gonna do my impression. Become strong as steel. That was not great, but so Kurt's fine. He's not a bad guy, you know. He's one of the good ones. I'll put him in B. He's good enough. I'm a good enough guy. Karna is another bracer. She is a helpful lady, and she seems cool. She seems collected, and she helps some kids at some point, and that's nice. Somebody that's going to go out of their way to help some kids, you can't rank them any lower than an A, right? So I'm going to put her in A. She's an A. And then this doofus, who's this guy? What's his name? It's right on the tip of my tongue. That's right. It's Grant. I'm trying to remember. There may even be a joke that he's forgettable. I might be mixing him up with somebody else. But he is a guy, and he is there. He's frequently there. He's a C. Sorry. And okay, finally in that group of bracers we have Annalise, and what do you expect me to do with Annalise? Like she loves adorable, cute, cuddly things. She's got a big yellow bow in her hair. She's a practitioner of the 8 leaves sword technique style. Like she's an S. She's an S rank, like for days. She's an S. Get out of here. You know she's an S. Since we were doing bracers, why don't we rank the Bracer Guild receptionists, because the receptionists of the Bracer Guilds are also fairly prominent in the story. There's so many characters in this series, you guys. I'm sorry if I've introduced you to this series and you are getting into it. I am sorry for how many people you're gonna have to meet and remember, because there's just so many of them. First up is Ina, and she's got, she is a heavy drinker. I don't know if the concept of alcoholism exists in the world of Trails, but she would be one. Ina and Shara are such heavy drinkers that other characters comment on it in ways that suggest maybe there's some deeper concern for their well-being. Anyway, Ina's great. I don't really have anything bad to say about Ina, but to me, she's an A. I don't think she's an S. I don't know how you... Are any of the receptionists going to be an S? I don't know. I mean, they're helpful, they're nice, they're cool. But... Okay, let's do Elnan next. Elnan tricked me, I think, in my first playthrough of the game, I want to say. Because he just kind of looks like Olivier. Like the long, blonde hair. That really stood out to me upon first glance as like, oh, are they no, it's just another guy. Basically, I think the highlight about Elnan is that he's just such a chill dude. Like, you show up and you're like, we're gonna join this tournament and we're gonna break into the castle and we're 16 years old, and Elnan's like, go for it, kids. That sounds great. We're behind you all the way. I'm assuming that the Bracer Guild has an unspoken rule similar to like the Mission Impossible people, where it's like, you know, if you are captured or killed, we will disavow any knowledge of your existence. I figure they probably have to have that, and that's why he can be very gung-ho about sending a couple of teenagers off to do the work of adult military professionals. I don't know. But because of how rad he is, in letting them just kind of go nuts, I'm gonna give him an A as well. Alright, who's next? Guild Receptionist, Kilika. Obviously, Kilika is, she's friends with Zin, okay? Kilika and Zin, from what I recall, practiced under the same mentor. The mentor may have been her father, I think. And she is a mysterious woman with just the bangiest bangs that have ever banged. I believe it's implied that she's a pretty powerful warrior as well, but she has taken on the clerical work of, a receptionist. Some bigger and more interesting things happen to her as the series goes on. She's one of those characters that has quite an arc happening kind of in the background, sometimes in the foreground as the series progresses. So Kilika's interesting, and she's significant, and she's an A. I promise I'm not trying to just put everybody in A. That's just my feelings right now, you know? I just gotta go with my gut. Who else do we have? Who else is a guild receptionist? Oh, the old guy. Old guy with the hat. What's his name? Yes, Lugrin. So yeah, Lugrin is, out of all of the Bracer Guild receptionists, he's just the most kind of there to me. He's a C for me. He's just there. He's fine. Gene is the guy. Gene's the guy. So yeah, Gene runs the Ruan branch of the Bracer Guild, and he's, I don't know if it says something that I completely forgot about his existence. Let's see. Sorry, doing a good job is like the bare minimum that I can ask for in a Trails character. Most of them do a good job. There's just a few that don't. So, if you can't rise above that, you're going to be stuck in Sealand, and that's all there is to it. Let's take a moment and maybe let's rank one or two of our main cast of playable characters. Why don't we? Let's start with Zin. Zin is a great big bear of a man from Calvard, which, if you've been paying attention to Trails news, you probably know that the new game coming out this summer in America, Trails Through Daybreak, takes place in Calvard. So we're finally going to be in the Calvard region for the first time. Well, technically, I think you start Trails to Azure in Calvard, technically, sort of. But, the first game to really take place fully in Calvard. Of the main cast of characters, I think Zin is the one that's least interesting to me. Just in terms of his personality, he's just kind of a big guy that's loyal and hardworking, and you only start to get some deeper insight into his character later on in the series. In FC, he's relatively kind of bland, if you ask me. And since I'm ranking characters in FC, I'm trying not to let my knowledge of future events color them too much. Zin's a B for me. He's a B. Now, Shara, on the other hand, she's real snarky. She's got a real snarky tude, and she's sort of the she's young. She's in her 20s, but she's sort of the mentor for Estelle and Joshua. She was formerly a circus performer, did death-defying feats with other circus performers. That's interesting. So, yeah, I mean, Shara's great. Shara's an A. Shara's an A. She's great. I feel like she's not an S for me because I'm not often inclined to put her in the party. So I have to take that sort of thing into consideration when I'm thinking about party members as well. Who am I inclined to use in my battle party? Not that she's not good. There's perfectly viable ways to use her, but it just, I don't know, it doesn't work for me. Okay, what do we got? Professor Russell. Professor Russell. He is a genius inventor. He has moved technology on the continent of Zemuria forward significantly. So in his younger days, he was a leader of this Orbital revolution and has brought all this technology, including computers. Like there's a computer that you can access in this game, and that's just a completely mind-boggling sort of new technology. And he's a nut, and he's pretty funny, and I do like him a lot. He's an S for me. He's quite a guy. Quite a guy. Really appreciate him. Okay, what do we have here? How about Mrs. Mao? Mrs. Mao right here. It's a little strange to me that she has a character portrait and, you know, thus giving her the sort of importance, a level of importance that I would not maybe have given her myself. She is an innkeeper in the Zeiss region. She runs the hot springs, and she's a nice old lady. I think running a hot springs puts her a step above your average run-of-the-mill innkeeper, so I wouldn't put her in a C. I'm going to put Mrs. Mao as a B. Yeah. You know what? Let's do the mayors, shall we? Let's do the mayors. First up, let's talk about Murdoch. He's not a wisecracking police detective, as the name might suggest. He is the head of the Zeiss Central Factory. Zeiss Central Factory is the largest creator of orbments in the region. Because the factory is such an important part of life for the people of Zeiss, Murdoch is essentially the mayor of the town as well. Although I think he's like honorary mayor. They don't have a mayor, so whatever the case may be, it's a company town, and he's the head of that company town. So Murdoch's good. I like Murdoch because he has a very distinctive personality. He is terrified of the antics that Professor Russell et al. Get up to, and you can just feel the exasperation just rising off of him when they get up to their hijinks, you know. So I'm gonna put Murdoch. He's an A rank for me. He's an A rank. Mayor Maybell. Mayor Maybell is the mayor of Rouen, right? Bose. She's the mayor of Bose. Fake Trails fan. Yeah, Maybell is very young. She's 21. Cities, if you have hired a 21-year-old as your mayor, you've done it wrong. I was a decent kid at 21. I had an okay head on my shoulders. I would not put myself in any sort of political power. Looking back on my 21-year-old self now, almost 20 years later, no. The best 21-year-old is probably still not going to be a great fit for a very public political office. You have a lot of growing to do, a lot of learning to do at the age of 21. I'm sure there are a handful of exceptions. Maybe Maybell is that exception, and she's great. I like to think rather it's nepotism, because I'm pretty sure my understanding is her father was the mayor before her. She was very well liked and just ran unopposed or something when he passed away and became the mayor just sort of by default. Now, having said all that, she's a very, very hard worker. The whole thing, her whole story revolves around the fact that she just works so freaking hard. And her maid, who we'll do next, even though she's not a mayor, well, we'll do her maid next, is just, you know, working overtime to try to help her get everything done that she needs to get done. So Maybell, you're an S. She's an S-ranked mayor in my mind. Lila is next. She is the maid to Mayor Maybell. Her eyes are always closed. It's one of those, there's a couple of characters in this game whose portraits show them as always just having their eyes closed. That's a strange anime trope I've never understood. They comment on it about another person, not Lila, saying that their eyes are just kind of slitted, like they just are squinting all the time. Is that the intention when characters in anime are drawn with their eyes closed? They're squinting? And then my question, I guess, is why? Why are they doing that? Anyway, Lila doesn't have a ton to her in FC. You get quite a bit more backstory in some optional stuff that happens in the subsequent Sky games. But based off of her appearance in FC, she's probably just going to be a B for FC. You understand. How do I talk about Morris Delmore? Morris Delmore. If you know, you know. We got Mayor Klaus. We can do Mayor Klaus next. He's a nice guy. You know, he's the elderly mayor of Roland, which is the town where you begin. He is well respected by his citizens. He was popularly voted in, it says, unlike some of these other big cities where nepotism plays a big role. Cough, Maybell, cough. He got voted in on his own merits as the mayor of Roland. I mean, Roland is a tiny little backwater town, though, so I don't know how important that is. But, you know, he's a good enough guy. Good enough guy. He's a big. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I think that covers it for the mayors. There's not a mayor of Grancel, is there? I guess we could do the queen next, right? The queen of Liberl. She's presented as just the oldest person that has ever lived because anime, you know? I think she's like in her 50s, right? So she's not, she's whatever. She's a middle-aged woman, but she's, you know, talked about as if she's this frail, infinitely old person. She is, she's almost good to a fault. You don't get a ton of interaction with her in FC or in any of the games, really. She's a presence, but you don't get a ton of her. And she's, I can't really find any fault with her, and that, in my mind, is a fault as far as a character goes. I'd like to, I guess her fault would be she's too trusting and too kind, but that's not, that's the Mary Sue problem, right? The too good, too nice. So yeah, the queen is she's a B character for me. I don't know. Am I off base? Am I missing some major fault that she has? Maybe let me know, because I just feel like there's not a whole lot to her. All right, let's look at Dean Collins. Dean Collins is the head of the Genis Royal Academy, and he is Dumbledore. Kind of, right? He's basically Dumbledore, and he administers this school, which sees students from all over Zemuria come to get just the finest education, as long as that education is in economics or social studies. I think are like the two things that they offer, which is weird. There's other things, right? You can study other things. I think he's a B tier character. He's fine. While we're on the subject of the school, let's a couple of our named, they're all named because this series is crazy and names like just about everybody, but our fairly prominent student characters, whose names I'm completely blanking on now. Darn it, come on, Brandon. Oh, it's Jill. Jill's up to bat. She's a, member of the student council. She's a fun-loving kind of gal who, also takes her work seriously, wants to get stuff done. She's a good friend with one of our party members, Chloe, who we'll talk about here in a minute. And Jill's a great girl. She's a great girl. So she's an A tier character for me. Jill's great. Hans is next. Hans is Jill's friend, also friends with Chloe. And he's so forgettable that I just spent, I think, 5 minutes trying to figure out who the heck he was. I know he's kind of pals with Joshua. They have a little bonding moment that happens. But I don't know. He does not shine in the face of his classmates, so he's a C. He's a C. Okay, well, as long as we're on the subject of the academy, let's talk about Chloe, our next party member to get ranked here. Chloe is a student there. She's a fencer, and she has maybe something of a mysterious background. We don't know a ton about her in the beginning of the game, She doesn't offer a lot about herself, but she is exceedingly polite, well-mannered, and she is friends with a woman who runs an orphanage, which, I mean, that alone, helping out orphaned kids, that's great. She's over there all the time, helping them out, hanging out. Chloe's a great character. She's friends with a bird. She has a bird friend. This bird friend is named Sieg. I should really have Sieg on here, but I didn't have a character portrait for Sieg, which I should have. I think there is one. He says "scree" all the time. So, but anyway, I don't have a character portrait. Sieg's an S. Just put him up here in your mind. I would put Chloe at an S as well. She's one of my favorite characters. She's always in my party. She's great with orbital arts. Very powerful mage in that sense, and not great on the craft side. Doesn't have a ton of special moves, but she doesn't need them because she's, so good, and being able to use Sieg to lower everybody's defense and attack is just great. So Chloe is an S. What else? Who else we want to do? We'll do Olivier while we're doing party members. Olivier is a bard, a traveling bard from the nation of Erebonia, which is the big, massive country to the north of Liberl that tried to invade them 10 years before Trails in the Sky FC begins. Traveling bard, he is sort of the comic relief in the group. He's always getting up to hijinks. He's flirting with literally everybody, except Estelle. Doesn't really flirt with Estelle, which is funny in itself. He seems to do that pretty intentionally because he knows it gets on her nerves that, well, I don't think she would want him to flirt with her, but the fact that she's the only one he doesn't, I think, bugs her as well. Olivier is great. He uses a gun. He's just bang, shooting from a distance, and appreciate that. Doesn't want to get his hands dirty. Olivier is also an S. Again, always in my party. Significant importance as well to the broader story. I don't want to go into it more than that, but Olivier is one of only a handful of characters that has shown up in every arc so far that I've seen. I can't speak to the Calvard arc, but every arc I've seen so far, Olivier's made an appearance, we'll say. So, significant. Love the guy. Let's do some military folk, why don't we? Let's look at General Morgan. Okay, General Morgan is an old dude. He's stuck in his ways. He's been mad at the Bracers for a long time because Estelle's dad, okay, Cassius Bright, he's a name that you will hear many, many times over the course of the entire series. Very famous, powerful Bracer. Cassius Bright used to be a military leader, left the military to join the Bracers, take up the path of, not non-violence exactly, but, not killing. He doesn't want to kill people. And that has really bugged General Morgan for a long time, and so he's been very anti-Bracer because they took his precious Cassius away. So some of the character development we see for General Morgan over the course of Sky is his acceptance of the Bracers. He starts out as the obstinate, grumpy old guy, and I'd say he adequately redeems himself in certain ways by the end. I'm not going to say exactly in what ways, but I'll put him as an A. I just think he's an interesting character. I like that he's not just accepting. It seems like a lot of people in this series are just very friendly, and that might bother some people. It doesn't typically bother me, but I do like when they mix it up a little bit and put a real jerk in there. All right, Julia Schwartz. Okay, Julia Schwartz is the head of the Royal Guard, which is sort of like the Secret Service, the people that are responsible for guarding the royal family. She is the most popular, one of the most popular, but she's very popular among the populace. Every woman in the country just idolizes her. So I don't understand it personally. She doesn't really seem to have a ton of personality other than like loyalty, So I don't think she's that great, personally. She's fine. She's a B for me. I don't know. She's very loyal and she's good at her job. Colonel Richard Allen. Or is it Alan Richard? It's Alan Richard. This is the problem when you have two first names. How am I supposed to know? How am I supposed to know which is which? Because they call him Colonel Richard, and you're thinking they're just being like really informal with him, but it's because Richard's his last name. So Richard Allen, Alan Richard, whatever, who cares? Alan Richard is head of the intelligence division, which I guess would be the CIA equivalent. He is a very, very powerful warrior. I mean, everybody that's in any sort of significant position in this military and in this game is an incredibly powerful warrior. That's how you can tell somebody's good, is how awesomely powerful they are with the sword. So Alan Richard is just the bee's knees as far as the populace is concerned. He's Much sought after for interviews because everybody wants to know what he's thinking, what he's doing. Colonel Richard, you're an A. You're an A, Colonel Richard. Kanone, she is the right-hand assistant to Colonel Richard. What's her rank? Okay, she's captain of the intelligence division. She's a woman of few words. She's mostly there as support. I don't know. Do I put her as a B? Is it sexist if I put all of the female military people as a B and all of the males as an A? It's a little bit sexist. I just feel like these two got a little bit more interesting characterization in the story than these two did. That does change as the story progresses when we move on to SC and third, but as far as their portrayal in FC goes, that's how I gotta rank it. Sorry for the sexism. Okay, who else have we got? Did I miss any military folks? Oh yeah, Major Sid. Major Sid's a good dude, and he does have some fairly important things to do in the story. But I think that's maybe more so in the later chapters, SC, etc. So honestly, he's a B. He's a B. Okay, let's do the Capuas. We're gonna do the Capuas. Okay, so fairly early on in the game, we're introduced to the Capua family, this party of sky bandits that pillage and rob, and apparently used to be Erebonian nobles before a bad business deal left them penniless. And so now they fly the skies and steal and are making a name for themselves as air pirates. And we have 3 of them. There's Don, the older brother, Kyle, the middle brother, and Josette, the younger sister. Josette, I will say, has a fairly entertaining rivalry / frenemy hate relationship with Estelle throughout the course of especially Sky, and that's a lot of fun. It's great to see Estelle, who's so positive typically, she just can't stand this girl Josette, and that's a lot of fun. That's fun to see. Don, the older brother, he's kind of boring. He's a C. Kyle, he's also kind of boring. He's a C. But Josette, highly entertaining. I like Josette a lot. She's an S tier for me. Let's do Gilbert. I'm gonna do some of these miscellaneous characters real quick because they don't really fit in any of the major categories. They're not military. They're not mayors. They're just people that are there. Gilbert is a graduate of the Genis Royal Academy. He's assistant to Mayor Dalmore. I'm trying to just keep this focused on FC. I would rank Gilbert as an A. He's he can be fairly irritating, but sort of in an entertaining way. So, Gustav. He is the chief mechanic of the Zeiss Central Factory. He helps our party with a variety of things over the course of Sky. He's kind of boring. He's a C. Let's do the matron. Matron Teresa? I'm going to say her name is. Matron Teresa is the head of the orphanage that Chloe is friends with. And she's just a nice lady. It's one of these characters that you don't get a ton of backstory on her. You do get a little bit, but she's just a breath of fresh air. She's just so kind and gracious. She's an A-ranked character for me. Yeah. I realize I don't have Polly on here. She wasn't in my pack of character portraits that I downloaded. That's an oversight on my part, and I apologize. Polly is one of the orphans from the orphanage, along with our little friend Clem. Clem is a little rascal, a little troublemaker. You can tell by his cap. Definitely a troublemaker. He's irritating, and but he's got a good heart, and I would put him as an A-rank character. I would put Polly probably in the same. She's got the kind of wide-eyed. She's a little bit younger and kind of a little bit dumber, just because she's a little kid, and she's funny, and I like her. Let's do Mueller. Mueller is a friend of Olivier, and he is also from Erebonia, as you might expect. And his reactions to Olivier's antics are frequently amusing, because he does not seem to find them amusing, and that's amusing to me. So Mueller, you're an A. All right, let's do 2 more party members before we wrap this up. Let's do Agate Krosner. He is, I think I said in my review that if this were a run-of-the-mill JRPG, he'd probably be the protagonist because he's got, he's the loner, gruff guy that uses a giant sword and has a complicated past. But because this is Trails, we have Estelle instead, which makes a lot of sense in the context of Trails. But it's nice to have Agate. He's a great dude. He starts out just kind of brash and annoying in his dismissiveness of Estelle and Joshua. He really grew on me by the end of FC. I think I would classify him as an A. Then we have Tita Russell. She is the granddaughter of our Professor Russell up here. And she's 12, I believe, in FC. She's an inventor, genius girl inventor. And she uses just giant guns, just big cannons that she holds in her hands. That's her weapon. And she's great. I think she's a lot of fun. Her facial expressions are just so charming and they crack me up. And Tita she's an S rank character, Tita. Let's do Duke. Duke Dunan is the nephew of the Queen. There's some debate, we'll say, in FC about who is the successor to the throne. Is it the princess or is it the Duke? The princess is the granddaughter of the Queen. The Queen's son, who was to be the heir to the throne, was in a horrible accident, passed away. The Duke, his cousin, the Duke, thought he should be king, and other people think that the princess, being direct line descendant, should be the next ruler. He's pompous and he is very detached from the common folk. You're supposed to hate him, right? You're supposed to hate him. So I don't want to rank him necessarily as like a D or a C because of his hateability, because he is, I think, appropriately hateable. I hate him the right amount. So I don't know. What do I want to say? I guess I'd probably call him a B in more ways than one. So his manservant, I guess, his right-hand man is Philip. Philip is another. He's the aforementioned other eye closed guy. I guess there's maybe two others, but one of the other eye closed guys, or I guess he's just squinting all the time. He is a very powerful warrior back in his day. I think he used to be the captain of the Royal Guard, like Julie is. Julia. I don't know her that well. I can't call her Julie. So Philip is constantly having to apologize for the Duke, and it's amusing to see him have to deal with the Duke. I'll rank him an A because Philip's great. Hilda here, head maid in the palace. She's looking out for everybody's best interests. She's just a C, I think. She's fine. You know what I mean? She's fine. Professor Alba. He's a kindly historian who Estelle and Joshua meet several times over the course of their trip around Liberl. He's studying these towers. These 4 tetracyclic towers, they're called. He's charming and gets into lots of mischief and trouble, and he's frequently having to be bailed out by Estelle and Joshua, and I like him, so I'm gonna make him an S. He's an S rank. Yes. Okay, we got Leonard. Leonard is, I can't say a lot about him. He plays a sort of prominent role in the story, sort of, but you may not know it at the time until the end. So I don't want to reveal too much about Leonard. He's an A rank for me. Let's do Niall. Niall is a journalist. He is just a cut from that old school style of journalism where he's looking for the scoop and he's willing to take great risks, his own personal safety and the safety of his camera woman, Dorothy, who we'll get to next. He is willing to go through it all for the scoop. And I love Niall. He's a great character. And he's an S rank character for me. Then we have Dorothy. Dorothy, as I said, is his camera woman. Well, she's working with him in FC primarily, but she's not assigned to him all the time. She's just a camera woman for the newspaper. She shoots great pictures. She's very, very good with the camera. She's also very amusing, so she gets an S from me as well. Okay, we're down to the final 3, and these are the Brights, the Bright family. Saving the best for last, right? Well, maybe. First up is Cassius Bright. He is the world-renowned S rank bracer. There's not even technically an S rank in bracers. It goes up to A. But there are a handful of bracers that are considered S rank because they have achieved success in multiple countries, not just their own home country, and Cassius Bright is one of them. He is incredibly strong. I don't like his hair or his mustache, if I'm being honest, if I'm being brutal. I think if he had a more prominent role in FC, I would rank him higher. But he's called away at the beginning of FC and does not have a significant role in this first part of the series, so I'm going to put him in B. Okay. The Bright Kids. Joshua. Joshua is the adopted son of Cassius Bright. At the very beginning of Trails FC, he brings home this injured little boy that's about the same age as his daughter Estelle and says, "Hey, I got you a brother, what do you think?" And Estelle's like, "Oh, cool, fine, a brother now." And Joshua is, he's a mysterious guy. He has a past that he does not talk about. And Estelle doesn't want to push him. She wants to be considerate of her brother, sort of brother lover. I don't know. She kind of has a crush on him at a certain point, which is a Japanese anime type trope that I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't know if that happens a lot in real life. I don't have any adopted siblings, so I just can't speak to it. Not a big fan, though. That being that as it may. Joshua is a very, very cool character. I love the mystery surrounding him. And even though you don't get a ton of answers to those mysteries in FC, the way they're presented and kind of, little breadcrumbs dropped along as you go are really cool, especially playing it again, having a deeper knowledge of his background. You see some things that you would have just completely overlooked the first time because why would you think about them? But you see them and it's like, oh, they were really planting some seeds way back. Anyway, love Joshua. Love Joshua. S all the way. Estelle, I mean, what do I need to say about Estelle? She's possibly my favorite protagonist of any game. She is a ray of sunshine. She is a bundle of joy. She is snarky and sarcastic and just a kid. Like, she's just a fun kid, and I like that. I think that's great. Like I said, most JRPGs, especially at the time, were like brooding anti-hero protagonists, and she's just like, nope, we're just gonna have fun and be goofy and wear our hearts on our sleeves, and I really appreciate that. You cannot spell Estelle without S, and that's all there is to it. Okay, that's a lot of characters. I probably missed one or two. Like I said, I got this big pack to download of all the character portraits, and I'm recognizing at least two, Sieg and Polly, that I'm missing. But are there others that are portraited characters from FC that I should have in here? Let me know down in the comments, and I will reply with where I will rank them, because I gotta bring an end to this. It's been over an hour of recording, and the video's not gonna be an hour. I'm gonna trim this down as much as I can, because good golly, you don't want to sit through an hour of me umming and through a bunch of character portraits. That's not what you came here for. I hope you enjoyed this. It's a little bit different. Let me know what you think, and if I should do it for future Trails games, or if I should just call this a one-off experiment that didn't go the way I wanted it to. We'll see. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Anyway, if you consider liking and subscribing and doing all that stuff, again, I would really appreciate it. And anyway, until next time. Bye.